Namaste. This is Adarsh Williams, and today we're talking about hip rotation and a little bit of abduction of the hip. As you can see, I've rotated my left side out externally and I'm abducting it, and then my right leg is internally rotating. For many of us, this internal rotation is lacking. For me, I know it's lacking because when I was a child, I actually had bowed knees and I had to wear corrective braces on my legs. As I've gotten into yoga as a teenager and adult, I've really worked on improving my internal rotation throughout my practice. One of the best ways I've found to improve internal rotation is with a heavy band, and that will help to reset the femur bone into the hip socket. So, this is what I do. I've tested my position to initiate. Another important test is going to be the squat test. And I just want to get a feel for how I'm squatting and the integration of the femur bone into the hip. Start with the band high into my bikini line. So I have it pulled all the way up in there. And it's a little uncomfortable at first, but you have to go with that feeling as the band starts to work into those dense tissues. I'm just going to move out into a basic all fours position, and then I can simply move back and forth. And this is not a very skillful technique. This is much more about getting a feel for the band as it flosses into the hip. At a certain point, I'm going to turn the body slightly. Now the band, as you can see, is pulling the femur bone out. So it's starting to abduct that. Now, when I lift up my right foot, I can internally rotate and I can externally rotate. This is called tail wagging. So I can wag my tail, and that just puts a little bit of movement in the area. To isolate and work a little bit more on the internal rotation, I'm just going to kick my foot up on the band here. I want to position the navel over the knee, and this starts to give me a reference point for the femur head driving properly into the hip socket. So we're going to facilitate now. I will contract. I'm going to kick my foot into the band, so that's actually an external rotation action, and I'm doing this on the inhale. Then on the exhale, I'm going to let that relax and rotate more into the hip socket. Now, as I'm getting into this, I can actually start to turn the body more, and then I'm going to do the same. I'm going to facilitate by contracting. That's the inhale. And then on the exhale, I relax and I feel for greater internal rotation. I'll continue repositioning, moving my body around, and I'm just starting to search for those in ranges. When I find that, I'm going to contract, I kick back. Then in the exhale, I'm going to relax and allow for a better rotation. Spending time contracting and relaxing will not only physically reset the position, but we begin to wire the nervous system to remember these neutral or ideal positions. And we can program the nervous system simply by contracting and relaxing. So you start to get as much activation in the area as you can. That's the contract phase. I'm kicking the foot back against the band. Then in my exhale, I'll work into the relax phase. And here I'm just trying to find any slack, any additional space that I can start to take up in that joint. And then I'll start to work into that. Contracting on the inhale, relaxing on the exhale. Okay, so that's simply working with the internal rotation. I'm going to slowly start to move out of the position. The next piece of this, I'm going to use the band around my back to give me some support when I go into a squat position. When I'm in the squat, I'm just going to keep working. So I'm going to load up tension into the band as I start to sit back into the position. And then once I'm here, I'm again repeating the same technique where I'm going to contract, and here's where I lift out of the position a little bit, and I'm just activating those posterior chain muscles. Then in the exhale, I'm going to relax, and that's where I start to take up a little bit of the slack. I will use my arms here to squeeze the legs in. I know that that assist is going to create a deeper internal rotation, and it's going to require, or it's going to be a much stronger mobilization for my hips and low back, keeping the knees close together. I'm going to contract where I push the knees out into the arms, inhale. And when I exhale, I'm going to take up that space. In some ways, the contract relax is a non-specific technique. I'm not always sure what to contract. I just know that I want to get some activation in the area. That's my inhale. And then I know that when I exhale, I want to try to relax the tension without losing position. As I return to the set position, I'll just retest my range. I can tell a difference. And then I'll retest my squat. Also a big difference.